I would go through 2 or 3 loaves of bread in one day, making 10 sandwiches at a time. So I would keep eating and eating and eating until it would hurt. And if I didn't get that food, I would get really upset and really angry. I would rip doors off their hinges.
What's up guys, Freddy here from wolfmuziek.com, and today we're going to talk about this guy who can eat whatever he wants and he just can't store fat. He just can't. So before we go into the video, I want to ask you, please subscribe to the channel because most of you watching are not and you still watch. So most of us, we really like to eat everything and we want to stay as lean as we can, as shredded as possible. But maybe that's not something you really want. So for this, I'm gonna start the video and yeah, just me reacting to it.
Troy Fryer has less than 2% body fat. Although he looks extremely fit, it's the lack of fat that makes his muscles stand out.
Okay, so first of all, they are saying that he's 2% body fat. 2% is very, very extreme, guys. I mean, like 2%, you would be dead if it's a true 2%. And most of the guys who walk up into the gym, they always really married to a number. They really care what percent of body fat they have. But it doesn't really matter. Look at Mike Thurston. I mean, like, when he stepped into the DEXA, he came out at 14% or even more. I do not remember to be sure, but as you can see, the guy is freaking jacked. So body fats, yeah, most of us really get it wrong. And you know, when people walk up to you in the gym and say they were 5% body fat or 6%, listen, that is like bodybuilding territory shredded. And most guys in the gym, they always say, hey, I have 5% body fat, 6% body fat. No, you're not. You're most likely 14% or 13% or real 14, 15%, which is not bad, but yeah, don't say you're 5% because 5% is really, really shredded, guys. I mean, like, most people who are 5%, their glutes are like, you have stripes in your glutes, striations in your glutes, hamstrings, everywhere. Nowhere, no part of the body just has fat, alright? So most of the guys, they really get body fat wrong, a lot of people. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter, by my opinion. It's all about how you look and how you feel in your own skin. Some people feel really fucked up at 10% and some people feel great. It all depends on your personal situation.
The lack of fat that makes his muscles stand out. No padding on his face, his cheeks look sunken, and his eyes are deeply set.
How far are you off that way?
The little bit of fat on my body is behind my eyeballs and on my liver. So walking around not having fat, it feels like constant needles are poking through.
That's heavy. As you can see, when you really get lean, your face gets really sunken in. You can see that as well in my face transformation. If you didn't see it, watch it up here. Put the card up in here. But he's saying, what did he?
It feels like constant needles are poking through the bottom of your shoe.
You know.
Can you even imagine that you just don't have any fat under your freaking feet? You just have nothing there, just bone. You know how painful that is when you just walk up in the street? Fat is not bad, guys. We all need fat. Although we all want to be shredded, but trust me, past year when I was really, really shredded, my glutes were shredded as well, guys. I mean, like, I had no fat on my glutes. I literally had pants on and my ass was like freaking flat. If I looked in the mirror, you see stripes. And that is insane, but I can still remember when I would just sit on a wooden chair or seat or somewhere else, I don't know. It just had to be soft, but My ass freaking hurt. I couldn't sit because it was bone just touching this shit. So, trust me, I kind of know where he comes from with what he's saying, because it's true. It's true. When you're really shredded in your ass and you would sit on a hard surface, you feel that shit. Trust me, you feel it.
You know, some of us stand up all day and we're okay with it. Troy's not, because he has no padding on his feet, nothing in between his knees. There's no comfort at all. It's just unbelievable to watch him struggle.
Troy was born with a normal amount of fat. But by age 6, he began rapidly losing weight, despite having a voracious appetite.
I would go through 2 or 3 loaves of bread in one day, making 10 sandwiches at a time. So I would keep eating and eating and eating until it would hurt. And if I didn't get that food, I would get really upset and really angry. I would rip doors off their hinges.
I actually sent him in for...
Probably thinking, how can he eat all of this food and still stay lean? I mean, like, he just doesn't have fat. He can't store fat, all right? And when you have such a low body fat, you really want to eat a lot. I mean, like, you really, really want to eat a lot. So in his case, due to him not having enough fat on his body, he just doesn't get the signal to his brain that he's full or whatever. I mean, like, you have to understand that fat is really important for a hormone called leptin. So leptin is a hormone that is secreted from the fat cells, and it tells your brain that you're So my card was full, so I had to start over, and I deleted some old videos.
So please, play.
Freaking stupid. But what I was saying was that leptin is a hormone that tells your brain that you're satisfied and you do not want to eat anymore. So can you even imagine, when you do not have fat on your body, you just don't get that signal anymore. So you just truly cannot help it. You're always hungry.
I actually sent him in for a psych evaluation thinking that there was something wrong, because he couldn't take the answer no. It's like he was starving.
Lots of people who have eating disorders or whatever, and they're very hungry, they eat a lot. Most of the people around them, they truly do not understand what they're going through. Alright? You truly understand it when you are so hungry, when you've been so lean just once in your life, then you truly understand what real hunger is. It's a bummer. I mean, like, most girls with, or guys with anorexia or whatever, bulimia, lots of people around them, they do not understand. You say eat less or eat more, it's just not that simple, because it all has to do with the brain.
By age 9, Troy was clearly ill. Doctors were shocked to find that his blood was full of fat and cholesterol, symptoms typical of obesity. It made no sense until Troy was diagnosed with a genetic disease called lipodystrophy.
We always think about thinness as something good, but in generalized lipodystrophy, it's beyond thinness. It's actually absolute lack of fat under the skin. So the excess energy doesn't have a place to go.
And that's why Troy was sick.
So what do you think that happens when you cannot store fat? It's all going into the blood, man. And you just can't store it. So what's gonna happen? You'll see.
And that's why Troy was sick. With no fat tissue, excess calories collected in his liver, enlarging and inflaming it.
So all the calories he ate, it gone to his liver, alright? It gone to his freaking liver. It just accumulates there. I'm not sure, but your liver doesn't work well and things like that happen. You just get inflamed, guys. I mean, like, and fatty liver disease. I don't know if it's Can we correlate with this? I'm not sure, but a lot of people, they suffer from fatty liver disease as well. Non-alcoholic, alcoholic, you know, it all has to do with things accumulating in the liver.
And when it got to that point of the doctor saying there's nothing else we could do for you, Troy turned to the doctor and said, so how and when am I gonna die?
Salvation would come from the discovery of a mouse that also couldn't stop eating. But unlike Troy, this mouse was fat, not thin. A genetic mutant from a breeding experiment, it was nicknamed OB for obese.
This mouse had a
So I truly think that a lot of people who suffer from obesity or too thin, I really think that people who really suffer from obesity and shit, it's very heavy. I believe it has to do with your genetics and it's not all their fault. You have to see it like this. I mean, like obese people, a lot of people, they tell them, yeah, they're just lazy, they eat too much and they don't move too much. It's partly true. What I do think about obesity is that it's not all their fault. They do not load up the gun, all right? But they pull the trigger. So it is up to them to get themselves to a better position of health. They are the ones that has to pull the trigger. Like, I'm gonna get healthier, I'm gonna diet, I'm gonna be eating a calorie deficit for a long period of time, and I wanna be healthier. They have to pull the trigger, you know? They pull the trigger. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
For obese.
This mouse had a defect in a single gene. And the impact of that gene was a mouse that weighed 3 times normal and had 5 times as much fat, and that overate voraciously. And genetics is very powerful because what it tells you is that obesity has a biological basis. What that basis is required identifying the gene.
In 1994, after a decade of work, Friedman and his collaborators homed in on a gene only found in fat cells.
I looked at it, and in that instant, I knew that we had identified the gene that makes a hormone and that plays a very active role in regulating appetite, metabolism, and probably other biological systems.
So if you injected that hormone into the blood of an OB mouse, the mouse lost weight. It would completely cure the mutation of a OB mouse.
And over the course of a few weeks, depending on the dose you give, they'll look indistinguishable from a normal mouse.
The hormone was named leptin, from the Greek word leptos.
Can you even imagine how big of an effect leptin has? And when you diet down, that you just don't secrete as much leptin? This is a real problem. I mean, like, people who are obese, they can have enough body fat on them, like on their body, but they do not secrete a lot of leptin, all right? It's like you have a fat cell over here and you want to, if you want to feel satiated, it has to be like this, all right? And when you diet down, it gets smaller. You cannot get rid of fat cells. They will always be in your body. They only can get smaller, but to a certain point, when they get smaller, they reach a point where they're like, all right, we're a little bit too small. We're just not gonna secrete leptin anymore. And if you have a lot of fat cells in your body, that means that you have more fat on your body, if that makes sense. More fat cells is more fat. They can get smaller, but that doesn't mean you're shredded when you have a lot of fat cells. So someone like Tristan Lee, I made a video about it as well. You can watch it up in here. He has like very low amount of fat cells. That's why he's so shredded, and he can still feel good and function well.
A normal fat cell produces leptin, which travels to the brain and signals the hypothalamus, a region that determines when and how much we eat. High levels of leptin tell your brain you have plenty of fat stored.
So that is why fat is not bad, guys. I mean, like, fat, we need it on our bodies. And for some people, they secrete less leptin at 20% body fat, 25% body fat, maybe 30% body fat. It really depends. And it all has to do with your genetics. How many fat cells do you have in your body? It all depends. So yeah, it's very important. So find a point for you where you feel good. And yeah, where you can train hard, not be hungry all the time. It all has to do with your brain and your hormones. Your hormones are very important as well. It is calories in, calories out. Eat less calories, you burn fat, you lose weight. Eat more calories, you gain fat, you gain weight. It's simple like that, all right? But for some people, it's just truly harder to lose all the weight. And it all depends, and that depends on your hormones, your brain, and all that shit. So yeah, don't be a dick and tell someone who's obese it's your own fault. It doesn't have to be, all right?
But low levels trigger an alarm to eat. And for those like Troy, who can't make leptin because they lack fat.
And this is why we get very hungry when we are shredded and feel like shit.
For those like Troy, who can't make leptin because they lack fat, getting the hormone would be life-saving.
The starvation was gone within 3 days of him taking leptin. We saved a lot of money. Troy went from eating what 3 people would eat to eating what a normal person would eat in a day. Got a little bit of blood on there.
Knowing that I was full, I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Does it hurt?
Leptin can't cure Troy's disease, but by curbing his hunger, it protects his liver.
I'm very happy to see that he's doing better and he's injecting leptin. Science is so far we can even inject this hormone into our bodies while we still feel great and we're not hungry as so who knows, maybe if I'm shredded and I would take that by any chance, leptin, I would not be hungry and I would not be starving. But yeah, it's very interesting and I'm very happy to see that he's doing better. Very serious. That's why most of us, we want to be shredded and eat everything what is inside, but for some people they really have problems and they're jeopardizing their life and health and everything. So yeah, just wanted to react in this video. I thought it was very interesting. So if you liked the video, subscribe for online coaching. Hit the link in my description. Like the video, guys. It truly helps the channel out. And I see you next time, guys. Much love.